A lot of people ask me why I quit school. I said it was interfering with my education. It was. But biology now, I took every course I could in biology. Great blue heron. You know, I've made a living on the water my entire life. It's the reason I like birds that make a living on the water. There's the eagle's nest right here. Yeah. I either wanted to be a mountain man or go to sea. And I grew up on the eastern shore of Mobile Bay in the summers, but I grew up in Spring Hill in the winters, which is in the country and closest I could get to the mountains. I had a trap line. I trapped furs and sold furs. In fact, I was during the Davy Crockett period when everybody's wearing coonskin caps. I made big money on coonskins. But this was my stomping ground right here for years. There's the gator. No, in front of us, he just went down. We're in gator country now. I grew up in boats. My first boat was a rowboat. And I've written about Duke, the old black guy that I grew up with. And he made cast nets for catching mullet. And he made me my first one when I was 4 or 5 years old, you know. And the only thing was he was left-handed and he taught me to throw a net left-handed, and I still do. But he said it didn't matter as long as it gets the job done. We would catch mullet. I just wrote a thing for Garden and Gun about ain't no mullet like a June mullet. That's what he always said, because that's when they're the fattest and good to eat. But, and I fished with him and floundered with him, and we never missed a Jubilee. So I was a commercial fisherman, I guess, way back then, because we were selling what we were catching, you know. So like I say, really, I made a living on the water my whole life. Ran a tugboat on the Mississippi River and the Intercoastal, and then I shrimp, and I was a fly fishing guide. Then I was worked for Orvis, the fly fishing company, and covered the whole Gulf Coast between guiding and fishing, and mostly that's the way I've made a living. Oh, I was in the boat business, and I designed some kayaks that you could stand up in and fly fish out of, and now stand-up paddle boards, because you can get back in really shallow water. I found out these duck ponds over in Louisiana, they're shallow ponds, but the redfish get in there, and they're tailing, you know, this water's so shallow. They're feeding and their tails come up. And these redfish would be in there, and you could tell they were happy as they could be, because they just looked happy. And as soon as you got that boat in there, you could tell that they got nervous. And the boat's displacing water. Just like when you get in a bathtub, the water level rises. Well, the same thing with that pond. When you push that boat in there, the water level rises. So I started going in there with pirogues and canoes, and then these kayaks that you could stand up in and fly fish out of. And heck, I've caught redfish just dangling a fly in front of them. You can get that close, you know. So anyway, the biggest fun is coming up with ideas how to catch a fish. That's more fun than catching them. And I wanted to be a marine biologist. So that would have been a reason to stay in school, but my father died fairly young, and I decided to go to work. And I was doing things I like to do, and I've done things I like to do all my life. So if you love it, if you love what you're doing, it ain't work. And that's all I got to say about that.